You wake up in the morning, and before the world even sees your face, you've already lost. You hit snooze. That one tiny decision, that's your first failure of the day. You think it doesn't matter. You think an extra 5 minutes of sleep is harmless. But it's not about sleep, it's about the weakness that controls your every move. It's about choosing comfort over progress, softness over strength. That's how losers are built, not with one big failure, but with 1,000 small, pathetic choices stacked on top of each other over years. That's why they're broke, that's why they're invisible, that's why their life is a constant cycle of regret, depression, and escapism through cheap entertainment and digital validation. Here's a brutal truth nobody wants to admit: you don't randomly become a loser. You choose to be one. Every time you look in the mirror and say, "I'll start tomorrow," every time you justify skipping the gym, every time you know what you should do but settle for what's easy, you are actively choosing to stay average. That's not genetics, that's not fate, that's a decision, and you make it every single day. The difference between the winners and losers is mindset. It's not talent, it's not luck. It's the internal wiring of how a man thinks and acts when no one is watching. A loser waits, a winner moves. Winners don't sit around waiting for the universe to hand them opportunities. They don't hope, they don't pray for a chance, they create one. They go out into the world and tear through obstacles. They don't cry about the problem, they dominate it. You look at a top G and you see money, strength, confidence, women, power. You think he got lucky. You think he woke up like that. No, he bled for it. He worked while others slept. He pushed through doubt while others caved. He fought battles in silence while losers looked for comfort. He built that version of himself from scratch. Pain was his fuel. Discipline was his religion, and mindset, that was his weapon. Meanwhile, losers are everywhere, nodding their heads and repeating garbage like, "It's not my fault. I wasn't born into money. I don't have support. I'm not lucky like him." These people wear their excuses like armor. They wrap their identity around failure and pretend that society owes them something. But the truth is, nobody gives a damn. The world doesn't care how hard your childhood was. It doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care that your life is complicated. The only thing the world respects is results. Power, discipline, consistency, and results don't lie. You either produced them or you didn't. So how do winners get there? They start by taking full responsibility. No blaming parents, no blaming teachers, no blaming the economy, politics, or fate. They look in the mirror and say, "Everything that's wrong in my life is because of me." If they're weak, it's because they tolerated it. If they're broke, it's because they didn't take action. If they're alone, it's because they didn't level up to the point where anyone wanted to stay. That mindset, that's where it starts. Because the moment you stop blaming and start owning every inch of your life, you unlock real power. And here's the core of it all: winners live with accountability, losers live with excuses. A loser's life is full of reasons why they couldn't start the business, why they didn't train harder, why they couldn't escape the 9-5. They've got a story for every failure. But a winner, his life is built on decisions, painful ones, terrifying ones, decisions that most people would run from, but he faced head on. A top G doesn't need safety. He doesn't chase comfort. He chases growth. He doesn't ask, "How do I feel?" He asks, "What needs to be done?" And then he does it, regardless of emotions, fear, or doubt. Losers wait for the right moment. They wait for motivation. They wait for the stars to align. Winners don't wait. They strike, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because they understand there's never a perfect time. There's just now. This moment, and they either conquer it or they let it pass. And what's worse than pain? Regret. The regret of knowing you had the power, but you were too lazy to use it. That's the kind of suffering that destroys men from the inside out. Now, let me tell you something else you need to hear. Your mindset is either your greatest weapon or your deadliest weakness. If you don't master your mind, it will master you. It will convince you to stay weak, to avoid pain, to stay average, and that's why most people live lives of quiet desperation. They're not stuck because of their circumstances. They're stuck because of their thoughts, their beliefs, their mental programming. They've convinced themselves that success is for other people. That greatness is a lottery ticket. That change is impossible. That's a lie, a dangerous one. And you're telling it to yourself every day you delay the life you know you're capable of living. Winners, though, they don't entertain lies, they cut them at the root. They rewire their brain with truth, with action, with results. When things get hard, they go harder. When things fall apart, they rebuild stronger. Where others run from failure, they run toward it. They're not afraid of discomfort because they understand that growth is born there. A top G chooses the pain of discipline over the pain of regret every single time. That's the code, that's the mindset. And when you start living like that, something in you shifts. When you stop making excuses and start taking action, when you stop waiting and start executing, everything begins to change. Not just your bank account, not just your physique, your confidence, your aura, your presence. People can feel it when you walk in the room. That's power. That's what happens when you build yourself from the ground up through fire and force of will. That's what separates the top GS from the average man. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something that scared you? When was the last time you chose the hard route, the painful route, the one with no guarantee? But you did it anyway because you knew deep down that's what real growth demanded. That's what winners do. They make those choices not once, not twice, but daily, hourly. They build a life based on uncomfortable actions that compound into unstoppable results. So the next time you think about skipping the gym, the next time you feel like giving up on your side hustle, the next time that little voice inside you says, it's okay to quit, remember this. Every loser who failed to build his dream had that same voice, and he listened. Every winner, every top G heard it too, but he crushed it underfoot like the weak parasite it is. He chose strength, he chose purpose, he chose war over weakness, and that's the difference. That's what separates the elite from the average. Not luck, not talent, mindset. So now the only question left is, which one are you? You see, once you understand that mindset is the battlefield, you realize most people are walking around already defeated. Their posture, their tone, their habits, it's all weakness wrapped in denial. They think they're good people because they don't challenge anything. They avoid confrontation, avoid pressure, avoid accountability. They call it peace. I call it cowardice, because deep down they know they were meant for more. They know they've got something inside them, but they're too scared to face the war it takes to become that version of themselves. So they run, from discipline, from discomfort, from destiny. And every day they run, they get smaller, weaker, more forgettable. Top GS don't run, they don't flinch. When life hits, they hit back twice as hard. They don't ask, why me? They say, try me. That's the code of a real man, a man who earns his strength, a man who wakes up with purpose and goes to sleep with results. He doesn't seek applause, he doesn't seek approval, he's not trying to fit into a weak society that celebrates mediocrity. He's building his own legacy, brick by brick, through action, and he knows this game isn't fair. It never was, but fairness is for children, for kings life is war, and winners adapt, dominate, and win regardless of the odds. Now let me break something down for you. The top G doesn't care how he feels. He doesn't let emotions run the show. You think winners are motivated every day. You think they enjoy the grind all the time. Of course not, but they show up anyway. Discipline is their foundation. Discipline isn't about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's required. It's showing up to train when you're exhausted. It's working when others are sleeping. It's pushing forward when your body and mind are screaming to stop. Discipline is not a mood, it's a lifestyle, it's a weapon. And most people are too soft to wield it. Losers operate on emotion. They say, I don't feel like it today. They say, I'll try again when I'm in a better headspace. Listen, your feelings don't matter. Your actions do. A weak man lets feelings lead. A strong man commands his feelings. He uses pain as fuel. He turns anger into productivity. He transforms boredom into learning. Every emotion is raw power if you know how to channel it. But the average man, he drowns in it. He becomes a slave to his impulses, always reacting, never creating, always waiting, never attacking. That's why most men today are lost. Their masculinity has been replaced with comfort. Their hunger with distractions. They scroll for hours, numb and docile, consuming lives they'll never live, worshipping idols they'll never meet, and forgetting they have the power to create something 100x greater. But the top G doesn't watch, he builds. He's not a spectator. He's a producer, a fighter, a strategist. Every hour of his day has purpose. Every action moves him forward, every setback a lesson, every failure. Fuel, he doesn't break, he bends reality. Here's what separates the winners from the rest: clarity. The top G knows exactly what he wants. He doesn't move blindly. He's not wasting time chasing meaningless pleasure. He sets targets, he maps his moves, he visualizes victory. Average men are fogged up with dopamine addictions. Porn, junk food, video games, parties, useless social media beef. They're sedated, passive, easily distracted, and that's why they're weak. A distracted man can never win, because he's chasing instant pleasure, not long-term power. He's a puppet, not a king. Winners eliminate noise. They cut off anything that doesn't contribute to the mission. Toxic people, gone. Energy vampires, blocked time. Wasting habits, destroyed. That kind of focus is rare. But it's necessary. You don't build an empire with casual effort. You don't become the top 1% by doing what 99% of people do. That's the truth, and the truth is uncomfortable. That's why most people avoid it, but the top G leans into it. He embraces discomfort like an old friend, because he knows on the other side of pain is power. And let's talk about sacrifice. Winners sacrifice now so they can own later. While the crowd is partying, the top G is grinding. While others are relaxing, he's strategizing. While others are begging for motivation, he's already moving. People think success is glamorous. It's not. It's lonely. It's cold. It's filled with rejection, failure, and nights when your body aches and your bank is empty. But that's the price of power, and the top G pays it willingly. Because he knows the alternative is a lifetime of regret, mediocrity, and weakness. Average men chase comfort, but winners chase discipline. They'd rather suffer in silence than die in regret. They'd rather bleed on the path to greatness than rot in a room of wasted potential. And they know this life is short. There are no do-overs. Every second counts. That's why they act with urgency. That's why they move like warriors in a world full of sheep. Now, here's a brutal reminder. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your boss, not your girlfriend. If you're broke, weak, out of shape, or irrelevant, it's on you. And the longer you wait for someone to fix it, the deeper you sink into the pit of mediocrity. Winners don't wait, they take. They conquer, they create. They fight their way out. That's the difference. That's the truth they live by. And understand this. A top G doesn't just win in one area. He wins in every domain. Physically, mentally, financially, spiritually. He's not a one-trick pony. He's a beast across the board. His body is strong. His mind is sharp. His money is flowing, and his life is under his control. That's what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him magnetic. That's what separates him from the sea of average men hoping, wishing, fantasizing. So if you're still wondering why you haven't made it yet, look in the mirror, ask yourself, do I train like a warrior? Do I think like a leader? Do I move with purpose, or do I just drift? Do I dominate my time or waste it chasing pleasure? The answer is in your habits, your rituals, your standards. Winners have non-negotiables. Wake time, grind time, discipline time. There's no maybe. There's only must. And if you want to rise, you must suffer. There is no path to greatness without pain. But that pain will carve you into something deadly. Something unstoppable. That's what the top G understands. That's what most men fear. They'd rather stay weak than risk breaking, but they don't realize they're already broken, broken by comfort, broken by excuses, broken by a mindset that worships softness and avoids all pressure. That's not living, that's slow suicide. So if you want this life, if you want the strength, the respect, the power, it starts with war. War against your weakness, war against your distractions, war against every lie that tells you you're doing okay. You're not. You're either rising or dying, moving or sinking. There is no standing still. The world moves fast, and if you're not adapting, you're losing fast. The top G wakes up with fire. He trains like a savage. He works like a king building an empire. He speaks with conviction. He walks with certainty. And everywhere he goes, people feel it. That's not luck. That's earned. That's years of pain turned into power. That's what separates him from the average. And if you want that, you better stop making excuses and start moving like your life depends on it. Because it does. You want the top G mindset, then you need to stop pretending that success is a one-time event. It's not a lottery, it's not a wish, it's a way of life. It's habitual war. Every single day is a battlefield. The world's not going to hand you a throne just because you want it badly. You're not owed anything, you have to earn it through blood, sweat, and absolute mental dominance. Because let me tell you something, the top isn't crowded because most men won't do what it takes. They flinch, they crack, they quit, but the top G, he doesn't just survive the pressure, he thrives in it. You think having a big dream is enough. Everyone has dreams, dreams are cheap. Execution is rare. Execution is what separates the men who fantasize from the men who dominate. The average guy talks, the top G acts. While others make vision boards, he's out there building empires, starting businesses, reading war strategy, and crushing goals. He doesn't have time for pity for doubt, or for the weakness this world tries to inject into men every single day. He wakes up, he moves like a lion, and he rips through the day like a man who knows what's at stake. Everything. And don't think for a second that it gets easier. It doesn't. That's the point. The top G mind set isn't about chasing comfort, it's about choosing struggle. He doesn't avoid stress, he chooses it. He seeks pain because he knows on the other side of that pain is greatness. He knows weakness dies when you face it head on. That's why he trains when he's tired. That's why he works when others rest. That's why when life knocks him down, he doesn't complain. He gets back up and comes back harder. You see, you become unbreakable when you refuse to be broken. The world respects strength. Undeniable, ruthless strength, not just physical, but mental, spiritual, emotional, financial. You can't be strong in one area and soft in the rest. If you're jacked in the gym but weak in your wallet, you're not complete. If you've got money but no discipline, no purpose, you're hollow. The top G is a complete weapon. He's trained his mind to be sharper than any blade, his body to be tougher than any excuse, and his soul to be fireproof. That's the level you need to reach if you want to command respect, not beg for it. And here's the cold truth. No one is going to push you like you need to be pushed. Your friends are too soft, your family's too forgiving, and society is built to make you comfortable and weak. You have to be your own drill sergeant. You have to wake up and look in the mirror and say, am I a warrior or am I a coward? Because every day you choose softness is a day your competitors get stronger. Somewhere right now, another man is grinding, pushing, reading, investing, building, while you're debating whether to hit snooze or not. Guess who wins in 5 years? The top G doesn't just win by working hard. He wins by thinking smart. Strategy is everything. He doesn't react to life. He plans it. He anticipates moves like a chess grandmaster. He studies patterns. He learns human behavior. He sees through lies. He sees weakness in others, and never allows it in himself. When he speaks, people listen. When he enters a room, he owns it. That's not luck. That's self-mastery. That's what happens when you stop being a boy and become a tactician, a commander, a king in a world of pawns. And let's get something straight. Winners don't cry about fairness. They don't complain about the rules. They learn them, master them, and break them if necessary. The world is rigged, yes. The system favors the powerful. But instead of whining about it, the top G becomes powerful. He builds wealth. He builds status. He becomes so dangerous that the world has no choice but to pay attention. That's the only way to win in this life. You don't ask for respect. You take it. You don't wish for success. You bleed for it. You don't chase comfort. You make war with your weakness. The top G isn't afraid to stand alone. He understands solitude is where men sharpen their edge. While others need constant validation, he sits alone in silence and listens to the sound of his own mind, clearing the fog, building vision, forging strength. He doesn't need likes, doesn't chase approval, doesn't beg to belong. He builds empires quietly and lets results speak louder than any post or praise ever could. He's self-reliant, self-respecting, and self-made. You can strip away everything he owns and he'll rebuild it from dust, because the real power is within him, not around him. And don't mistake calm for weakness. The top G is not always loud, not always aggressive. Sometimes he's calculated, observant, calm like a storm before it strikes. That's what true power looks like, controlled aggression. He doesn't explode emotionally, he executes rationally. While others panic, he analyzes. While others react, he leads. That's the kind of energy that builds dynasties. That's the energy you need to walk into negotiations, boardrooms, gyms, and life, with unwavering certainty that you are the apex predator and everyone else is just prey trying to survive. You want to rise. Then stop wasting time. Time is the currency of warriors. Every second is a chance to build, grow, learn, dominate. And every second wasted in laziness, distraction, or meaningless pleasure is a second you'll never get back. One day, you'll be old. You'll look back and either be filled with pride or filled with regret. The top G lives every day in such a way that his future self will stand tall, not slump in shame. He doesn't live in the past. He doesn't complain about what was. He builds what will be, and he does it like time is running out, because it is. And finally, understand this. Being the top G is not about flexing cars, money, or girls. That's surface level. Real top GS lead other men. They inspire others to rise. They protect their families. They build nations. They stand on truth when the world bows to lies. They aren't controlled by lust, by fame, or by fear. They are guided by a deeper honor, power, loyalty, strength. That's what makes a man untouchable. That's what turns an average soul into a living legend. So ask yourself today, are you living like that? Are you walking with purpose or wandering aimlessly? Are you acting like your life is a mission or like it's a game? Are you forging a name that will echo when you're gone? Or are you just another shadow in the crowd? Because this world doesn't remember the average. It remembers the dangerous, the fearless, the warriors, the kings, the top GS. So if you want to be one, then it's time to rise. No more excuses, no more waiting. No more softness. Get up, get strong, and take what's yours. Because no one's going to give it to you.